Okay, let us start with today's session. Today's session is about writing skeletal code. That means yesterday we tried to write some kind of interfaces, and then we also saw how we kind of realize for our mental picture how is the flow and how do we collect the data and how do we send process it, and then how do we send the data outside our system. So inputs for the systems are, one is input is coming from the JSON API, and then we are trying to process it and make use of it, and trying to extract some statistics out of it, and then we are going to make some report. And then also there is a second module which takes care of web scraping, some collecting news from various web news, and then we're going to make a report out of that, and then we're going to combine these two, and then we're going to send a mail. Okay, so that is what we discussed. uh, in today's class, what we'll discuss is we will try to make modules in the code, and then also we will try to put these functions whatever we have defined in place, and we will for our simplicity sake we will just put print statements, and we'll try to simulate the flow, so that we know that the modules are connected, and it is working fine. So that is our task for today. So that is writing skeletal code. Okay, so let me go to the code. Okay, so let us make a project inside project. COVID subscribe, or I just keep it COVID project. Okay, so this is our let us consider this as our parent folder. Okay, and then let us go back to our picture. Or even better, let us go to our discussion. Let us open on GitHub. Project. Then we had the picture is also uploaded. Interfaces discussion. So what we discussed was we tried to identify interfaces. So now we have about 4 modules. Let us create 4 separate folders, and then let us try to write some maybe 4 files, and then we'll try to put these functions inside that, and then we will try to run the program, and let us see if these functions get called as we wish in write flow. All right, so first module is about collecting data from outside. So let us call this as what is the name that we have given here? Collect data from API. Okay. We will change the folder names as and when we require, and then let us make another folder called as main service. There are standard conventions to name these folders, but let us not get into that. I'm just making some folders. Mail service, and then making report is another folder. So I'll just put it as reports, and then web scraping, which collects news. I'll just put it as news. Okay. So these are my folders. Here it doesn't show the folders in as we see in the browser. Okay, it got created inside of. Wrong. Let me try to clean it up. Instead of that, I'm going to simply create on command line. That's better. Clean up everything. Make dir. First folder is our data collection. Our API. Let me even super simple that input data. Okay. Then another folder is reports, and another folder is mail service, and another source was news. Okay. So we have 4 folders here. Okay. Now let us try to put write some files here. So let us name file as and just create file. These are Linux commands, so don't worry about them. So data.py, okay, and then mail service, send mail, maybe it just send mail, and then let's go back to news. Okay, so I'm going to just call it as news.py, and then maybe we'll write more files as and when we go further, but just for flow purpose we'll write this. And then inside reports I'm going to create okay. So what we have done here is, now we can see those files actually. Okay, so we have created 4 modules. Okay, and then we have created some files inside those. So these are maybe we can call it a sub modules. Okay, or maybe we can call make this a small sub packages, and we can call the whole thing as a package, and we can call this as modules. But yeah, it doesn't matter. So this is how we have organized our code. So let us look at our interfaces now. Where was that? GitHub. Okay, so collect data from API. Okay, this was what we put. Let us try to put it here. Okay, so in case if we require, we may write some classes and then define functions, but just for flow we'll just write plain functions. get processed data. Okay, let it be as data, and then let us just print processing data, and maybe we have to return something. Return data. It is processing API data. We're just trying to connect. So this is a important step in our building anything, because if the flow is once the flow is fixed, we can play around with our modules. So okay. And then we are going to write another function which is we'll try to put some function inside this send mail. So what does send mail do? Maybe just goes here and it is okay. I'm going to just take this and put it here. Okay. Send mail. I should collect some data in order to send mail. So let me call it is simply data. So then we will define what kind of data structures goes into that. I'm going to just print sending mail. Okay. Maybe we return true or false. Okay. Return true. We're just hard coding it here. So this is one of the services, and let us go to news, and then let us define collect news from various sources. So collecting news. Alright, so we should return something here in order to send that to reports. Return data. Okay. And then the last one was report, which kind of aggregates all of these things. So what we discussed yesterday was in reports it is something like this. So I'm just going to copy paste it, and then I'm going to align this. Okay, so process API data. So here I'm going to just print. There are shortcut ways to print the function name itself, but I'm just trying to write my own string. But you can actually use some internal functions to print the function names. Okay. So process sync data read from API. And then process news, processing data collected from instead of API. So news module. Just write API module. News module. Okay. And then process news is okay. Process okay. I have to return something here. So input, I'll just take it as data here. I'll return some data here, right. And then I'm going to do the same, some kind of data which I do not know yet how does the data structure look like. Process news, and then now we are just writing the functions. We have not connected it. We are just writing the skeletal code. In order to connect them, we need to call the functions. Okay, so aggregate data, API data is process API data. Okay, fine. And then aggregate data, and then news data is process news data. Okay, good. So should I aggregate them like this? Okay. And then there is a send mail, so let us not call it yet. Okay, so print aggregating reports. And then maybe we have maybe we don't return anything, maybe we return something, but let us just return true for now. Okay, what we have done is we have just written plain functions in all these modules. Okay, now let us try to connect it. Okay, so in order to connect them, we need to make this um, these are the maybe we think of it as a library, and then we need to make that library visible here. So in order to do that, we need to go back to our diagram here, or yeah. Okay, so get process data. So this gets called in, so everything gets aggregated in reports. So let us go to reports, right? And then we will try to import those modules, collect data. Okay, where am I? Okay, reports and reports, and then in order to find import collect data, or maybe from collect data, import. We will add this into system path, and then it will be visible here. Or we can also relatively import it here. Okay, okay, it's not input current data, it's input data. Okay, just import input data in dot import color data is the function name. Okay, and then from double dot means it goes to, since we are here, I need to go to the parent folder, which is project, and inside that there is input data. So sorry, our parent folder here is COVID underscore project. So I go out of here, double dot, and then input, go inside input data. So that is how this is called relative imports, and there are ways to make it much better, but for now let us just try to connect the dots. Input data, and then mail service is required. Yes, import mail service, send mail. Okay, from mail service is required, and then input is done. Also we need to collect news, import news is the file name, which is, I think we should be done here. Okay, we are trying to aggregate, collect, send mail, and news here. Okay, good. Now let us go here and try to connect it now. So process API data needs to call collect data. So collect data, I think we don't need to send any arguments, because internally maybe it just it calls an API internally. Okay, so here calls API, collects JSON and returns maybe a dictionary or something. Okay. So this does not require any arguments as of now, so we won't collect any arguments here. So let me just data is equal to some maybe an empty dictionary for now. Okay, just to return some empty empty data. Okay, and then come here. So collect the data. So I will collect the data as data is equal to collect data. So this data is collected from maybe we'll rename it in a nicer way, maybe collect API data or something like that. So let us just collect it right for now. So collect data. Okay, I have collected the data here, and then I'm returning the data. So where does this function go? Okay, it goes here. So now I need to the thing is, once I collect the data, I need to process it here to make process it here, get stats and return some data. Okay, so maybe it's not the same variable we return. We may return something like processed API data is equal to my computer got slow. Okay, processed API data is equal to maybe maybe I have two values, because I have to send an Excel sheet and also I have to send statistics. Maybe I'll put some just for but just for simplicity I'll just put it as empty, or maybe Excel sheet, as well as I also need to send some stats. Okay, stats. Okay, so that is about this function. So I'm going to process API data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect the data from API in certain data structure and manipulate that data structure, and maybe I create an Excel sheet out of it, and then I create statistics here. That is like for that particular state, what is the active number of cases, and then what is the disease cases, and how many people have recovered. Okay, so that is the idea here. Now once we did this, now we also go and let us go and look at process news. I'm going to collect the news from the news module. So I'm going to collect it, news, news data is equal to, maybe I don't need a input here, because I'm going to process API data, doesn't require anything. Okay, so process news doesn't take any arguments because we don't need. We are going to just call news.py. Inside that news.py, maybe we have collect news. Okay, good. So let us look at collect news. as of now we don't need any parameter, because it's going to be empty function. Maybe inside, because what we are going to do essentially here is web scrape some websites, um, and then collect news, and then we are going to collect the data. Okay. So this interface doesn't require any parameters as such. Okay. So you can see that as and when we try to write code, we have modified some things. Since this is a small a module, a relatively very small module, we are doing this. But in fact, for a slightly bigger project, then we need to define what kind of data I am going to send and what kind of interfaces, what are the parameters that I am going to send. That also needs to be defined. So since this is small and for experimental purpose, we are going to change on the fly. The news is the function. Okay, I have collected the news. Good. And then what I'm going to do here is maybe I process raw news, make it into simple list of news, or maybe with hyperlink, that is the link to click. Okay. So I'm going to take this, and maybe I will send it to some internal function or whatever that is, and then maybe I return some kind of processed data. Okay. So processed news is equal to just some dummy dictionary as of now, and then I'm going to return that processed news. Okay. So now we have connected API data, and now we have collect data. Process news is done. Process news is done. Unused variable. Okay. That is because we processed. Okay. So and then news we have collected. Now let us try to aggregate this, because we should not be as we discussed yesterday, we should not send mail immediately, because user will get two different mails for both of this. So what we are trying to do, we are going to aggregate these two things, and then we are going to send mail. Okay. So this doesn't take any parameters. So okay, API data is collected. Now we have API report we are collecting, news reports we are collecting. Okay, good. And then let us look at send mail. Okay, send mail is imported here, and then maybe I will send what I will do is even better. Mail does not worry about what kind of format it is, or what is the attachment, things like that. So what we are going to do is we are going to form that format which send mail is expecting, and we are going to send it as some data structure and a single data structure, and internally it will use it for its mail sending. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to here some code to aggregate news and API reports. Okay. And then I'm going to make mail information, or mail content is better. Mail content is, maybe I will, for simplicity purpose, I'm just adding up. So this is not what we are going to do actually, but for simplicity purpose. Okay. So maybe I aggregate it here, and here I'm going to send that mail content here. Okay. So now we have successfully connected all the dots. Let us see if it's successful or not. Okay, news data, some news data. Okay, that is fine. That is fine. And then there should be a trigger point where these things get uh, collected. So in the COVID project, I'm going to create another file called as maybe um, main.py. Okay. So in this main.py, I'm going to trigger all these events. That is, from here, I'm going to trigger collect API data, collect news data, and then aggregate this. Okay, and send the mail. Okay. So this is the um, uh, okay. Let us okay. We can break this into another function, but for just for simplicity, what we are going to do is maybe define another function which is called as maybe uh, trigger trigger mails. Trigger mail is sufficient, and then maybe I'm calling aggregated data here. Okay. So I'm just, instead of calling aggregated data here, I'm just using our function, and I'm going to simply call aggregated data here. Okay, aggregate data, and maybe okay, and then in main function I'll come here, and that is as you know that code is in reports, so I need to from reports import reports. The file name is also reports, so import reports. Okay, so from here I'm going to call it as trigger the function here. So reports dot process name is trigger mail. Okay, trigger mail is my function called here. Okay. Okay, now fingers crossed, let us see how it works. Maybe we have done some mistakes, that's okay. So let us just look at what we have. Collect data, and my news, and then we have main function which triggers all this. Okay, so let us try to trigger this main folder, course code, create cd. Okay, this is Windows. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so Python main.py. Let us try to. Okay, the input data input project attempted. Let import be on the top level. Okay, so reports, inside reports, input data attempted. Okay, let us try to solve this. Okay, so what is happening is it is trying to go one step behind, and then okay, the point here is we are trying to trigger this from this level, that is at COVID project level, and all the imports should be from this level. So I'm going to just change and see. Okay. Okay, yeah. So from at this point, I can actually see input data as folder directly. Okay. So instead of relative imports, I can simply import all of this as is. Okay. Module is not callable. Line number 7. Each module collect data. Line number 7. Collect data is not callable. Why is it not callable? collect data. Okay, and the function name is get process data. Okay, that's a mistake. Collect data from here. Let me copy the function name and then paste it here. Okay, let us run it again. So input cannot import get processed data from input data. So what is the mistake that we are doing? Okay, okay, this folder and then the module name, collect data is the module name. Okay, so okay, what is the problem? The problem is we have project folder. Inside that we have COVID. Forget this project folder. So this is our base folder, COVID project, and then we have these other folders, 4 folders. Inside that there is collect the Python functions, sorry, Python modules. Also inside that there is functions. So first we need to go to the that particular folder, that is uh, this folder, and then go to this file, collect data, and then get process data, which is a function inside this. Okay, let us try to see if that error goes away. Okay, so reports 7, collect data is not the right function here, get process data is. Okay, let us see if it goes away. Okay, so let us further go here, mail service, we'll do the same thing here, send mail, and inside that send mail, with the function name, send mail is the function name. Okay, so we are good here. And then from news folder there is news div, from news.news, collect, what is inside this, collect news. Okay, collect news. Okay, so we're good to go. Line number 25, let us go to line number 25, API data, and okay, these two are dictionaries, so we cannot add up dictionaries. So let us say or even better, I'll just make it as a tuple. Okay, news is not defined. Let us go to line number 13. What is happening here? News.collect news. Okay, so now we don't require this. Excuse me. So collect news is okay, good. So we have debugged within few minutes, and then okay. So these are the usual problems that you might face. That is while importing. And now let us see the flow here. Processing collect data, okay, and then processing API data, good. Collecting the news, okay, good. And then processing news, yes, good. And then aggregating reports, yes, good. And then sending mail, okay, good. The flow, now we have realized whatever we have discussed in the picture. Okay, so the picture, coming back to the picture, is okay, it appears very big. Let me go back to the classroom. Let's look at the picture. So I have created a project folder in the classroom, and I have put some videos and some materials. So yesterday this was the first brainstorming image, which looked like this, very messy, and we discussed a lot of things. Why we should not call functions here, and how do we make it independent, and things like that. And then we cleaned up, and then we had a clear idea, and then we reached that okay, API collect some data from somewhere else, and then from API we are going to put it into reports, and report is going to get again from web scraping, and then the report is going to send the mail. So report module is important here, who is aggregating all these things again. So this is our this was our idea about the flow, and then we have successfully realized it in the code. Okay. So for any questions, we have just written skeletal code, and maybe we will try to fill these things up. And now it's going to get more interesting because we have 4 modules, and I think we have a lot of work to do. And I will define further requirements and how to do it, and how to use a logging system, how to use exceptions, and how to use say whatever we have learned like PDB, and then maybe how to use classes, and maybe we'll use all of these things and put it here. So what I want is I'll just put this update in the in GitHub. I want you to download the code and just fiddle around with this. Maybe you change this. Try to write your own code first, and then try to use this as a reference, and check out how if your flow is not working. And before flow is not working, you will face problems like relative imports and things like that. So what you need to do is once you get that error, just try to now you have understood how why those problems might come, and then just try to search it on net, and try to understand how the importing works, and how do you successfully import these items. Okay, and it's important that from where the point where we trigger so from here um, uh, the relative or the import system starts working. So you will understand all these things when you face the problem, and then try to connect these modules all by yourself, and then try to understand and how try to understand how to realize this particular picture. Okay, so this is very small, but within next week we should be able to finish it. So that is why I have kept it small. We will add more code here because each of them have areas which even I am not aware, such as web scraping. I am not aware. So we are going to learn it together and make it possible. And I think it will be interesting. So once I'm also thinking to take registrations from online, and then user will just put his email ID, and then his interested states, he will just click on interested states, and then every day, maybe at morning 8 a.m. or whatever the time it is we have configured, he will get a mail saying that okay, this is the COVID stats along with the news. Okay, so please try this exercise because this is crucial at this point of time. Once you have the flow in your head, then everything goes very smooth. Okay, if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay, then, so basically, so someone who doesn't know, like the skeleton, right, exactly, like the way you split it into 4 different Python files,
Okay.
or if someone doesn't do that, and if they want to start from, let's say, main.python,
Yes.
and start incrementally with the development.
Right. Right.
So, how do we? I know it is going to be directionless.
Actually, yeah. I'll tell you the problems why we have divided it into 4 different parts. The problem is in case we need in case there is some sort of change in the flow. For example, maybe at soon after generating reports, before instead of sending mails, maybe I am putting into a database. All right. So if you start writing mails, sorry, if you start writing everything in a single piece of code, you'll have to do more changes. That means it will be difficult to plug in new features and change the code. So code becomes very hard, or it's not flexible. So there are different system design concepts, such as divide that parts in such a way that it follows certain principles and things like that. So one of the principles is it should be flexible. It should be cohesive. So uh, for example, imagine I am not taking COVID data from only from API. Maybe I am taking from a lot of other places. Maybe from Twitter. Maybe from government websites or something like that. So the if you start writing everything in single file, if you're writing everything in single file and if you have functions, it's much better. But as and when the code grows, maybe it grows to maybe 1,000 lines, and it's really difficult to form a mental picture and then get into the code. So if you have this kind of division, you can work on module or one place without thinking bothering about other modules, because it's all separate. If you have it in single file, then you have to go back and forth, and you will always have a fear that okay, something else that is in above code might be affected. For example, if you have maybe some global variables defined here, and maybe you're using it in a couple of places, and then you try to insert some feature, then maybe that global variable or that that module, maybe it starts behaving differently because someone else is updating in that flow. So it becomes difficult to imagine. So now we have a clear picture about where does all these things fit, and we can work independently on these modules. That is the idea. Why? Yes, of course, it's even possible to write everything in single go. Yes, that is good, but it's difficult to plug in features. Say, for example, going one step more ahead, maybe I want to run this on multiple computers. So in that case, maybe we have to change this design a little bit. But if you write it in single file, it's going to be much more messier. So yes, so that is the idea why we should try to split it to modules rather than putting everything in single place.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So,
I hope I
I,
answered that question. In fact,
yeah,
to just for experimentation, you can start writing in everything in one file. That will give you everything in one file, and then as and when we go further, we try to add more features. Then you will see that single file becomes better.
right, yeah. I think it will be much sorted, like the way when you do it, split process, data
Yes.
processing of the data, it will be more sorted out. So, I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, and another thing is now we are like we are working as individuals. So I know that okay, these things are coming at the same time. I know the entire code. So, but if we are working in teams, then one person will be expert in certain area, and then he'll be handling only that part. So he should not be bothered with if a person who is working on reports, maybe he's expert in manipulating Excel sheets and such data formats. He knows all these things. Maybe he doesn't know how to, or he is not an expert in say web scraping. So he should not be bothered, or he should not be worried about how the web scraping works. He should be only just calling the function or the API that is exposed for web scraping, and he should be simply using it. So that is one of the important aspects of dividing it into modules, so that a team or an individual can own that and work on that.
Sure, yeah.
So
Guru,
that's all I had in this.
Guru, Dhiren.
Ah,
Just go back to the code.
okay, okay,
Go to reports.
okay. Reports pivot.
Okay. From input underscore data ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ. So
Input.
you put two dots. So what is that mean?
Okay, it's okay. So if it depends on from where you're triggering this main function.
Mm-hmm.
Say if you're triggering this reports just here. Um, okay, like I'm just trying to trigger here. Now I'll go to reports folder and then I'm going to run this file because I'm triggering here. Reports. Okay. Now the problem is no module name is input data. So whenever we try to run a program, so um, uh, we discussed in one of the sessions where Python starts looking at where is my module, where is my object located. Okay, input data is it's an object for Python. So it starts looking where is input data, this object. So it starts from local, that means in this file. So in this file, this is not defined. So then it goes to this particular folder, that is reports. So it is not there here also, but it cannot go one folder upside. So unless we specify it. Okay. So this is contained here only. So this is its root folder for this program. Okay. But in order to tell that this is uh, located in the previous parent folder, double dot means, like in Linux, what we do is Linux or even here, cd dot dot means it's like going to parent folder. Now we are in reports. Cd dot dot, we change it to it will go to this folder. Okay. So similarly, we are using the similar notation here, and then we are saying go to parent folder and from there search for input data. Let us try to run this now. If that error goes away, now it is telling that okay, it is beyond this current folder. That I think it went um, beyond the top level package. That is, it is going beyond this. So in order to resolve this, then yeah, what the best way to do is add all these modules in a
Single folder.
no, not single folder. There is something called as a system path. Okay, I'll just write down add paths. Okay. So in this case, we know from where to run the project. But in case you want to run it separately, then this is the path it starts looking for. Okay, this is a variable, state system variable. It will start looking out for uh, all the paths which contain this one. Okay, so let us try to look at this. Okay, and then if I want to add, so let us just try to print the path, system path. Okay, if you look at system path, this is my current folder. Now maybe since that is located inside this, so I need to first tell that, okay, tell that maybe this is as a package. The right way to do is like tell say tell this as a package, I need init folder init file. Now let's see if it doesn't resolve, then we have to add a path. Now we have to add path here. Now to add path, we need to insert this particular the reports, and then where is that? It's parent folder. I'll just add this. Now I don't need this. Uh, yeah, it takes I mean it takes some time to understand these things, but usually what we do is in projects, we we write some setting files, and then we define we know from where we are going to run the program, and then we all the paths beforehand, and then we start the things.
Okay.